Just waiting for it to slow down. Okay, I think we're there. So as I was saying, welcome to Support After Abortion's Abortion Healing Provider Meeting. We offer these monthly at no cost to you in an effort to help grow the abortion healing movement. We want to make sure that we're continuing to understand the compassionate language and support to provide. We want to provide an opportunity for every single one of you to collaborate with one another. And then ultimately, we need to build the capacity for the men and women around the world that are looking for healing. And so we started these meetings a little over a year ago, and they have grown substantially. And our format is that of a presentation where we provide a best practice approach or some kind of highlighted opportunity that we feel is really important for you. And then we offer a dialogue with everyone present. And then if there's time, we can have some networking, and we also provide you with some next steps if you're interested in engaging in the next level of your abortion healing journey. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to our presenters. My name is Lisa Rowe, and I am the CEO for Support After Abortion. I am honored and privileged to be with you and to continue leading this effort. I'm here with my team, some of them who are on screen and some of who aren't, but Karin is going to be participating with us. Many of you know her. She is our special projects manager. She has worn nearly every hat here at Support After Abortion, and I think she's pretty thrilled to be here today to share with you what she's been working on behind the scenes to elevate some of the program around Keys to Hope and Healing. I'm honored to be here with Angela Burrin. She's the director of the Pregnancy, Hope, and Healing and Prison Ministries Outreach of the Word Among Us Partners. We met some time ago. She is a very dynamic woman, and I want to make sure that I read her bio to the T because she is very, very special to us. So Angela is the author of After Abortion, and she's going to talk a little bit about that today. It's a faith-based booklet for women and men and a clinical approach she did with us with Keys to Hope and Healing. So she's actually the author of the work that we're going to be talking about today. And before joining the Word Among Us, Angela spent 20 years in the field of education as a teacher and principal. So she comes with us with a really dynamic approach and really special understanding of the work that she's done with us and separately for the Word Among Us. So we're really excited to be engaging with her today. Angela, if you'll give everybody a wave and let them know who you are. Yes, thank you. And we're also here with our videographer and our production group from our Keys to Hope and Healing video series, EJ and his wife, Audrianna. If you guys could give everybody a wave, you're going to hear a little bit about their story. But EJ is a videographer. He resides in Greenville, South Carolina. He started his video production company, Falero Studios, in June of 19. He has seen amazing growth and support from his community. And when he's not holding a camera, he loves to watch movies, go to the gym, and hang out with friends. So he's a real person, just like you and I. And so we're excited to have him because the work that he was able to do with us through the Keys to Hope and Healing experience has touched his life and his wife's life. And so Audrianna, she's a lactation consultant and a care coach who thrives in helping women to understand their bodies and their God-given abilities. She is a mother of 4 beautiful children, ranging in age from 1 to 9 years old. Oh, Lord, help you. She stays busy caring for them every day. Audrianna also loves to spend time with her friends and loves a good family game night. That's awesome. So without further ado, we're going to tell you why we're all here today. And we're really going to open it up in just helping you understand what is Keys to Hope and Healing. How did it start? And so, Angela, can you open this up for us? Maybe give us a little background. Tell us about the first rendition of Keys to Hope and Healing, the faith-based version, how that all started, and then maybe how it evolved into the more clinical approach.
Yeah. Well, hello, everyone. I'm here in Maryland, and I just love telling the story of how God has worked. The story begins in the women's prison in Jessup, Maryland, where I volunteer as a Catholic volunteer on Sundays. And after one of the services, one of the volunteers came over and said, the 2 ladies over there, they're really suffering from having had an abortion. And my heart really went out to them because there was nothing that I could offer them. You know, they were alone in their grief and their sharing and their guilt. And so on the drive home, I thought, I need to begin to put something on paper so that we can begin to help the women in prison. And really, that was the birth of this booklet, which is God Offers Forgiveness and Healing After Abortion. And I thought that it would just stop there, just a few thoughts on paper, but it developed into this booklet. And then I distributed it to the women and also to the men's prisons through the chaplains. And then someone from the Archdiocese in Arlington, Virginia, Project Rachel, they heard of the booklet and they were interested, and they said, would I decriminalize it? Which I did. I took out all the references to cells and sentences and chaplains and things like that. And so that was printed. And then Vicky Thorne, the late Vicky Thorne from Project Rachel, she said, but there's nothing for men. And so we then produced the men's version. And then after that, it was, well, what about the Spanish? So we had them translated into Spanish. And so for a number of years, we just distributed it. And then this is where Janine from Support After Abortion comes into the story. She had read an article in the Word Among Us magazine, for which I work, about Luncheons for Life, bringing together all with men and women interested in pro-life ministries. And she met with with Jeff Smith, the president, and various other people from the Word Among Us. And they began to go down to the Luncheons of Life and speak about these booklets and the Word Among Us in general. And then I was invited, and so I met Janine. And then Janine, and I always call it the corner office, began to talk about, what about having a magazine, a booklet for people who are not ready for a faith base, because this is very scripturally based. God is mentioned on every page. And I was brought in and I said, I don't know that that can be done. But then Janine did some amazing research, and she found out that something like 9 out of 10 women and men don't know where to go for healing, and something like 85% don't want a faith-based. And that really struck all of us. And it just struck my heart that there were women who just didn't know where to go, and they felt very alone in their decisions. So with that, and it was during COVID that we, in fact, worked on, with a lot of collaboration with my friend Karin, on this booklet, Support After Abortion, God Offers Keys to Hope and Healing. And from there, it was translated into Spanish, and then the conversation came up, well, what about the men's version? So we did that, and then that was translated into Spanish. And then the latest thing, which I find so incredibly exciting, is that there's now videos. And I would never have thought, you know what, a little inspiration in a prison is now what it is now. So I don't want to take up too much time. I could talk forever about these booklets, but let me hand it over back to you, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Angela. We are so inspired by your journey. You know, it's that first step that you took that allowed us to continue on, and we don't take that lightly. So thank you so much. And thank you for being open, that the way you saw the resource serving people initially could be modified, could be adapted, could be connected, which invites more people into the journey. And we're so grateful that you could see that. And so, Karin, when we first started this journey with Unraveled Roots, and we were learning how to connect with Bright Course, and we saw the success, you know, we've always had this dream, and Angela really allowed this entrance, this dream to create a multi-faceted approach to this healing journey. And so she's shared that we've been working on these videos. Tell us a little bit about what transpired in this journey, and a little evolution into our video producers.
Yeah, and we're going to be, thank you, Lisa, I appreciate that. We're going to be introducing our training platform a little bit later in this call, and so you can see what we have developed, but Unravel the Roots has been really successful, and it's comprised of a workbook, a facilitator's guide for those that might be leading it in a small group, and it has training videos for the facilitator and then client-facing videos. And the client-facing videos are really important because they're speaking directly to the client about things that they might be experiencing as they're going through the workbook. And so when we did Unraveled Roots, we had a local videographer who did it, but didn't want to do videos that long anymore. She really preferred the really shorter videos to do. And so this time when we're doing Keys to Hope and Healing, we had to find a videographer. And so there was a couple of agencies that we looked into, and we went with Falero Studios in South Carolina. And I'll tell you what, man, these guys are so professional. I mean, I really had no clue what I was doing, but they made it so easy for me to just kind of keep up with what they were doing. And it's so well organized. And man, I can't wait to show you just a little clips of one of the videos. Audrianna was our narrator, which she had the biggest role. For each of the 6 videos, you'll hear a lot from Audrianna. And then we hired 6 actresses to do the testimonies for each chapter. So it was a big production and a big deal. It's done. It's on our website, and I'm so excited. It was a big project, and I'm very proud of it. So I hope you all will go to our learning platform when we give you that link and check out what's in there. I mean, our website is really becoming developed with a lot of content, and it's only going to continue to grow. And I see that Kylie just put the URL for the learning platform in the chat feature if you want to copy that.
Awesome, Karin. And so usually EJ and Audrianna, the video production team, kind of is behind the scenes, and we don't usually get to see the face of those behind the camera. But today it was really important for Karin, after she heard your story and how Keys to Hope and Healing and producing it really impacted you. She really thought it'd be awesome for you to be here with us and share a little bit about your experience. And so EJ, if you would, when you accepted this project and started working on it and reading the scripts, how did that start to stir in your heart, and what was something really big that came out of that for you?
Well, obviously it's a sensitive topic. And so when I saw it, I was, okay, this is something I've never filmed before, something like this. And turns out that I actually have personal experience, both on 2 aspects, which we'll touch on in a minute. But it was very close and personal to my heart and my wife's heart. And so it was an honor to be a part of this. And I really wanted to be able to film this because I knew that I would take care of it. And I feel that I did, and I did it to the best of my ability, and really proud of the outcome and what we've been able to produce and deliver to all the potential viewers.
Awesome. And so Audrianna, as you're reading the scripts, you had like 10 minutes of content to deliver. What was it like reading that? What was it like for you to absorb that? And tell us a little bit more about that journey.
Yes, of course. So, I of course hear after, you guys talk about the role and the project. And so I was at first taken back. I was like, whoa, this is a big deal. This is, like you said, a sensitive topic. And, I was really in shock, and I figured I would have a testimony part. He was like, oh, no, they want you as, the narrator. And so it was just, it was a big moment of like, wow, can I really do this? And I just thought about like, wow, this is an amazing opportunity to not only, what I've personally been through, to be able to help others. And so it's been amazing.
Thank you for saying yes. It's been a journey that has been incredibly fulfilling to be on the peripheral watching the videos be produced. So you kind of gave us a little bit of an entrance into it, EJ, that there's a personal connection to this. Would you mind opening, that conversation up for us?
Yeah. So I'll kind of start with my own. I recently found out maybe a couple of years ago that my mother had an abortion with my father, and I would have had an older sibling, 4 years older, and it was a very emotional meeting that we had. I don't even know what caused her to bring it up in that moment. I mean, you were there. I don't even remember what brought that up, but she just felt she needed to get that off of her chest. And it was to me and my brothers in the room. And yeah, so I found out I would have had an older sibling, 4 years older. But now I'm the oldest of five. And so that was, so when I saw that this topic came up, I definitely wanted to be a part of it. And now my mother has gone through her own healing through it, has taken a course that's local here in Greenville, South Carolina. And then before I found out about my mother, when I met my wife, I'll let her speak on it, but she actually has her own personal experience with that I didn't find out until a few years into our marriage. But I'll let her take it away really quickly.
Right.
So I do have my own personal experience. You know, when I was in my teenage years, I made the decision to have an abortion. And I didn't find that healing, you know, like we were talking about, you know, you don't really know what's available there for you, and you just experience it all alone. And I remember saying to myself, this is something I'm going to take to my grave. Like, I'm not telling anybody about this. And even when I got married, I was still dealing with emotions, and all stemmed, the root issue was from my abortion. And so we together discussed it, and I was like, I really need to get some healing. And like you said, I found a local group that I was able to experience healing, and that just really helped. You know, I don't think I would even be here today if I hadn't experienced that healing, to be able to talk about it and share with others. And like he said, we found out about his mother a couple of years ago, and I recommended the healing that I went through, and she was like, oh, I've been to healing up north, like I think I'm healed. And she took the healing as well, the course here locally, and she said there was nothing else like it. You know, she felt like she was able to love her grandchildren more than she thought she was, or like she wasn't experiencing true healing. So it's definitely important to really experience true healing.
Mm-hmm.
Sharing your stories. I feel like that is just there's so much purpose in our pain, and you guys uninvited, you know, are seeing that purpose illuminated right before you. I mean, thank you so much for saying yes. It's fantastic.
Lisa, if I can just interject for a moment. I mean, this was divine providence. I mean, like finding this studio that could film our videos, and then finding out the connection that they had to the content was just not something that we could have done on our own, right? Like that was just God appointed. And so, and then to have them be so eloquent in their own personal experience. And Audrianna, you said about your mother that you recommended that she go through your healing, and she's saying, no, I'm good, right? We hear that so often, that healing from abortion is different than any other kind of recovery or healing we can do, right? Because there's so much, it's so personal, and there's so much shame behind it. So thanks for sharing that so eloquently.
Absolutely. And because you have had a chance to taste it and, you know, just be a part of it every step of the way, how would you compare Keys to Hope and Healing to the experience you had there locally?
Well, I definitely feel like, well, I'll first say it was different, you know, because I wasn't going through it as, you know, someone that needed healing at the time, but I feel like I was able to provide that emotion for how it feels before, during, and after an abortion, because I had already experienced those things. And so, of course, being local is amazing. You know, you can actually go and meet with someone in person, which I think is very important. The books are great, and I love the books, but sometimes it's hard to motivate yourself to really self-care and read what you need to read. And so the videos is a wonderful idea, especially with, you know, COVID happening and people not wanting to meet together. They don't have to. They can meet on video and watch these series and experience healing in their very own home, which is amazing. Did I answer the question?
Hey, there's no right answer. I'm just glad to hear you. What we know to be true, Audrianna, and you may or may not know this, is that so many of our programs are so very similar in the way that they present content. You know, it's a lot of times very faith-based, a lot of scripture. You have to meet in person. And so Keys to Hope and Healing swung to the other side of that spectrum, really trying to meet that statistic of 85% of these women women and men do not know, or sorry, want a non-faith-based approach. So we really wanted to pay attention to that when we produced Keys to Hope and Healing with The Word Among Us and Angela. And we also wanted to be very cognizant that, listen, we need to, like you said, to pivot in this world. Most of our groups in 2021 were virtual, and we had people from Canada and New York and all over coming to us because we did have a virtual option. And so we were able to meet and exceed the amount of people we wanted to serve. So I really just appreciate that, because not everybody's as fortunate to you to have a group, you know, right in their community, but sometimes they're not willing to go to that group right there in their community. So thanks for pointing that out. All right, so Karin, bring this to the execution phase. Folks are here, they're like, I want this. How do I get our hands on it? Let me see it, let me taste it. Without further ado, take yourself off of mute and share it with us.
Okay, Kylie has already, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So this is our training platform, and Kylie has given you the URL. It's right up here. She's put it in the chat if you want to do it, if you want to click on it and follow along. Right now, under the provider portal, which I'm assuming that most of the people that are on this call are abortion healing providers or connected in some peripheral way, we have 3 portals. We have an introduction to abortion healing, which is our 7 video series that's on Bright Course. We have Unraveled Roots that's been available for a couple of years now. I can't believe it was that long ago that we wrote that book. And now this says coming soon, but it's really already here. Maybe. Oh, here we go. Okay, so here's Keys to Hope and Healing. The Facilitator's Guide is available under materials. You just click on the words and the Facilitator's Guide will pop up. And this is the Co-Ed Facilitator's Guide. You can download it if you want, or you can just read it off of your screen. And then here's all the course content. So for session 1, it's the introduction to the booklet and acknowledge where you are now. That's the very first chapter of Keys to Hope and Healing and the very first key. So for everyone, you do have to log in. You do have to create a user account and log in. But once you do that, you can access any of what we have on this training platform. And so here's a brief description of what the goal is for session 1. And here is the video. Can I play a little bit of it, Lisa?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Let's see if it's a fan. Maybe do an introduction of Audrianna and then go to the case, the story towards the end.
Hello and welcome to our Keys to Hope and Healing series. We are so grateful for your bravery and courage to begin your abortion healing journey. Often when we think of courage, we think of a time in our life when we completed something that seemed impossible or reached a goal that seemed unattainable. However, courage can also mean that we have the strength to face something we know will be painful. Courage often looks like the first small step in a journey of thousands of steps as we navigate through pain and uncomfortable emotions. Thank you so much for your courage.
Isn't she awesome, y'all? I want to get to the testimony so you can see what that is like as well, okay? And as you hear, let me just show you here, there's text boxes that we've pulled out, words that we really want to emphasize.
Again, this is why your courage today is amazing. You have started your healing journey so that you can make healthy decisions that help increase your confidence and increase your sense of self-worth. Shame. Shame is very common after abortion.
Oh, I'm trying to find out where the testimony is. Hold on with me, people. Oh, here we go.
Mike and I had been dating for about 2 years when I got a positive on a home pregnancy test. We really loved each other, so I was confident that together we could talk through our options, whether that was to keep our baby or to put it up for adoption. What I hadn't anticipated was Mike's reaction of shock, fear, panic, and just his refusal to talk about me being pregnant with his child. The very next day, Mike made an appointment for me at an abortion clinic. When he told me about this, I was really hurt that the man who said that he loved me would do a thing like that without talking to me first. I felt really alone, as if I didn't have anyone to talk to. And that night I couldn't sleep. You know, the thought of having an abortion just kept going through my mind over and over and over again. And it was a situation that I just never thought that I would find myself in. By morning, I had really bought into the claim that my baby was just tissue. But another part of me questioned, whether or not that was true. And while driving to the clinic, Mike, he tried to console me, saying, you're doing the right thing. I cried throughout the entire procedure. I left that place feeling empty and broken and was just in shock and mourning. But I plastered on a fake smile and told everyone that I was fine. Mike and I got married, but we never talked about my abortion. I kind of just suffered in silence, but inside I just had so much anger and deep regret almost every single day, until one day, after sharing my story with a close friend, I decided to tell Mike that we have to talk about the abortion. And I was grateful that he was open, and he decided that we should, seek professional help. And we went to our first counseling session, which was a huge decision for both of us, but was the first step towards us seeking healing. Years later, I decided to tell my story to a few women at a support group. And when I cried, they cried. And they just had open arms and hugs for me. And I felt really loved and encouraged, another step towards healing.
So that's just a little bit of what these videos look like. I really encourage you to watch them. The testimonies are just so relevant. I mean, that testimony is something that we hear quite often, right? It's real. And so this is available to you with no charge. You can access the training platform anytime you want to, and there's a whole lot of content that I hope you'll take a look at and benefit from.
Yeah. And so Karin, with your programming hat on, there's a multitude of uses for this, right? It can be used one-on-one in a group setting. We have pregnancy centers that actually use this content for a woman who's choosing or deciding on whether or not she wants to experience abortion or not. So talk to us, Karin, about how, practically we could apply this in our current settings.
Yeah, that's a great question, Lisa. Abortion healing is not a one size fits all, and our consumer research shows that, right? So we're just trying to provide for the client what they're asking for. And Keys to Hope and Healing, this is great for that person who maybe isn't ready to start healing, says that she's fine, doesn't understand that she's not, or it could be for that abortion-minded client that Lisa's talking about, so that she can find out on her own, self-guided, going through the booklet, what it might be like for her if she does have an abortion. It's great for people who don't want to start with God, but maybe have a faith. And it's just an entry point. This is just an entry point for people to start the healing journey, because we know that healing lasts a lifetime, right? It's not a one and done. This is just the beginning. And so I can see somebody doing it by themselves and journaling it. I'm going to give a little drop here. We're actually considering making a fillable journal for Keys to Hope and Healing that will be available on our website as well. And so that gives people the opportunity to read and journal. And we know that when you put stuff down on paper, it makes it real, right? When we keep it up in our head, it's not as impactful as when we can see it in print on paper. So I think this could be used. I would give one to everyone that I ever came across. If I'm going to be honest about it, because I think it's just really simple. It's relevant. I think it meets the masses. It can be done one-on-one, in a group, virtually, in person, however you want.
Yeah. And I can't say this enough. I want to echo what Karin said. This is not the only healing tool. Support After Abortion isn't endorsing just one way of healing. We're saying there's a variety of healing. what Keys to Hope and Healing is offering is that entry level conversation with someone. There's been a void in our industry of a tool like this, and that's what Keys to Hope and Healing is. There's a purpose behind its very thin nature, the 8th grade reading level, very entry level. There might be some people on here go, you can't heal with this book. That's not what it's ever been meant to be. It's meant to start a conversation, because we can't start sometimes at 8. We have to start at 0.5 sometimes for some people if we're looking at a spectrum. And we've just seen a huge void in our movement for that beginning level connection. Karin, we're talking about evolving some of this material into maybe facilitators, videos, that sort of thing. Can you give everybody an idea of where you dropped the hint about the journal, but what else are we working on? Oh, you're muted.
Thank you for that. So right now we're in the process of writing the scripts for the facilitator training, which EJ and Faleros studio will be videotaping for us. It's going to be different. I think Audrianna has agreed to be the narrator for the facilitator training videos. And once the scripts are done, then we're going to videotape them, and then we'll have a complete package. It will be the booklet, the facilitator's guide, the client-facing videos, the facilitator training videos, quizzes, so that just like in our training platform, when you're on the provider portal, there's a quiz after each video that you watch. And hopefully in 2023, Break Course will pick them up for any agencies that subscribe to what they have, and they'll be available to thousands of pregnancy centers around the country.
Awesome.
So I don't know, we're hoping that we can get it done by when, EJ?
By the end of the year, by Christmas, right?
Yes.
That's awesome. So we're going to ask a few more questions of Karin for how to order and that sort of thing. But while we're doing that, if you want to start thinking about questions you might have for our presenters, you can put them in the chat box. You can raise your hand. I'm happy to take them anyway. But Karin, before we move on to those questions, outside of the training platform, how can people access these? How many different versions do we have of Keys to Hope and Healing? Anything else about what they might need to know to access it? And you're muted again, so make sure you take yourself off mute.
So sorry, I do that all the time. And I'm the one that's never at a loss for words, so I'm muting myself and I'm still talking anyway. So we have 8 booklets. We have 4 for men and 4 for women, both in English and in Spanish, and the clinical version of it, and then the religious version of it. They're all downloadable for free from our website. If you go to, if somebody could put that in the chat for me, www.supportafterabortion.com, and hit on the shop tab, you can see you can download the bundle for free. You can select the ones that you're interested in and download it, or you can, if you want to purchase one, you can as well. So, and if you look at our store, any of the things that we have on our website are available also through the store. Like instead of just downloading and looking at Unraveled Roots, if you wanted a copy of that so that you could write in it, I'm a writer in my books. I like to highlight and underline. It's available for purchase on our e-store. Is that what you were asking, Lisa?
That's perfect. Just what would somebody need to do to connect with this material? And I think we've answered that question. Great job. All right, so we're going to open up for questions. These are questions for EJ and Audrianna, for Angela, for Karin. Anything that might be practical or bigger or related, we're going to open it up for all of those questions right now. And I have the first one for you right now, Angela. Wendy Giancola. Hello, Wendy. Is the prison ministry version with the prison language still available?
No, it isn't. The language of the whole booklet is the same, whether it was the original prison version or what it is now. All I really did was take out any references to cell and chaplains. So the actual content is very much the same.
Okay. So,
but I will be happy to connect with anyone, later who would like to use this in the prison setting. Excellent.
Would you be comfortable sharing your email, and we'll put it in the chat? What is it?
I just give it to you now?
Please.
It's amb@wau.org. amb@wau.org.
All right, Kylie, I'm hoping you caught that. In addition to that question, this particular individual is asking Angela, have you ever used it in the prison? Is it still happening, and what does it look like?
I have not personally used it. What I have done is I go in on a Sunday for a Eucharistic service. So that is my form of volunteering. But what I have done, I've sent so many copies out to chaplains, both versions, and I've seen them on the table. You know, when I go into the gym on Sunday services, I've seen the faith base there. And, you know, it's up to the individual chaplains if they want to get a group together. But I think more likely it's the individuals, the women or the men, they've picked it up and they have worked through it themselves.
And that was the intentionality behind the paperback or the more magazine feel. Great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay. Let's see. How do you suggest to get the word out into the community that there is post-abortion healing available? I think I'll turn that to you, Karin. What would you recommend for somebody that wants to broaden their reach?
It's such a great question, and we talk about it all the time. We got to start the conversation, right? We got to start talking about abortion and go to our churches and our community social service agencies and whomever. So we have coined the phrase, be an ambassador for abortion healing, which is your opportunity to, in your community, to let people know where they can go for help. Align yourself with a local pregnancy that's perhaps offering abortion healing, but we got to start talking about it.
Yeah. And that means intentionally, like making meetings with your pastors, your social service organizations, your local therapists, anybody that could be support your gynecologist, but entering in and having those conversations. It's great. Okay, let's see. Do you suggest conducting multiple teaching courses on the materials from the faith-based and non-faith-based? Do you suggest on the intake form to ask this question? Karin, I think that's a good one for you. So I hear them saying, should we offer a variety, faith and non-faith? And how do you ask that when you're starting the conversation with a client? And remember, you're muted.
We just ask them, do you prefer something that's Bible forward or religious in nature? Or would you prefer to start with something that is more clinical in nature or secular in nature? And we let them decide. This is about what they want, not what we want, right? And like Lisa said earlier, we promote everything. We know that people gravitate towards whatever it is that they gravitate towards, and it's their decision to make. And now that we have options on both sides, we can provide that for them. And so we don't shy away from questions like that. It's
a great answer, Karin.
Yeah.
When giving this wonderful booklet out to women in pregnancy centers, do they say, I don't really want to abort, but I must, then I will use your information to heal? Maybe that's for you again, Karin.
We have abortion-minded clients call our Hope line frequently, really feeling like the decision is the only option that they have. I can relate to that because that's how I felt when I had an abortion when I was 18. And that's the only thing that I considered was abortion. I wasn't pro-life or pro-choice. I was just pro-me. And we hear it all the time, people coming to us conflicted about making the decision, but feeling like they have to. Some people don't want to really talk about what it might be like afterwards. So giving them a booklet might be good, but oftentimes when I have, and again, we're really honest with people. I'm very honest and non-judgmental when I tell them what they can expect after abortion. They'll go through with the abortion and then they'll come back to us and said, everything you said was right. And now we have an opportunity to connect them to healing. Now we have that open door to be able to say, okay, you've come back to the right place. We can help you. And then we just guide them in that journey of healing.
Thank you. So maybe underneath this, and we've talked to several organizations whose primary purpose is to change the heart and mind of that man and woman in front of them. And so leading with the healing message after abortion can sometimes conflict with their mission. And so Karin, maybe underneath this question might be some more clarity of, you know, by leading with this material with somebody who's abortion minded, is that going to force them into an abortion and say, oh, well, there's relief afterwards? Or is there another way that this can be purposed? Angela, do you have a response to that? You started sharing.
No, I don't know.
Okay, Karin, go ahead.
Well, I think that when somebody comes in and is pregnant and is unsure about whether or not they want to continue with that pregnancy, of course. So let me say it a different way. In my position, I am looking at the woman who's facing the unplanned pregnancy. That's who my concern is for, is that woman. And what is her life going to be like if she decides to abort? I can only tell her, share my experience with her and tell her what we've learned with the thousands of people that we worked with. And if she decides to abort, my goal is to make sure that she feels comfortable enough and trusts us enough to be able to come back to us for healing, right? I mean, it's her decision to make. We don't, at Support After Abortion, focus on the baby when we're interacting with that woman who's in a crisis situation. My focus is on her and how is this decision going to impact her life, and make sure that she'll come back to us if she's struggling afterwards.
Yeah.
And plant that seed. We plant that seed.
And oftentimes it's nice to pull this away from the abortion conversation. I see this a lot with my clients who have suicidal ideation. If they're struggling with depression in a session with me, and we contract for safety, and we know that this is a real issue for them, and being in isolation could be a struggle, I give them a series of support systems that they might be able to lean on should they feel like they are in a really tough situation. So by giving Keys to Hope and Healing as a resource for a woman and man who might be considering abortion, it's not saying, go have it, here's your healing tool. It's saying, here is a resource. Should you make this decision, you are not alone. We will be here with you on this journey. And so in case that was maybe some of the question, because we've been asked that before, by leading with a Support After Abortion message with somebody who hasn't yet made that abortion decision, does that push them towards the abortion? And I would say absolutely not. From my experience, it simply offers them an opportunity to heal sooner if they do choose that course of action, so they don't have to feel alone in that decision. Somebody asked and I think I'll take this one. We use Unraveled Roots first, then Keys to Hope and Healing, and then we move them to a further healing program. Is that your recommendation for use? And I would say we've done it that way. We've done it flip-flop, Keys to Hope and Healing and Unraveled Roots. It's simply the opportunity to follow along with that client, offering them the support services that they need. What we like about Unraveled Roots and the way to enter in is that it kind of addresses all the things, all the stuff from the past, all the maybe reasons why that client might be sitting in front of you. And then the Keys to Hope and Healing can get more focused on the abortion experiences, and then further healing, because we know that it is a journey. So either one, we've had success with both. And I would really just say it's based on your client, where they want to start. Some of our clients say, I want to start because I'm unhappy in my relationship, or my relationship didn't work out like I thought it was going to. And that's right here as a focus. Where others, it's my abortion experiences are right here in front of me. So really just leaning in and listening to your clients to know where to start. Okay, we have lots of questions. I'm taking them in the chat, and if you're raising your hand, I just want to make sure that I see you too. I've had men shy away from healing material written by women. This is a great question. Would love to see resources by men for men to help them heal. Were there men involved in this project? Karin, would you please answer that? And I see Greg Mayo on here. He was involved. Yes.
Yeah. For the men's versions, we developed a men's task force, which was led by Nathan Masirian. Greg, I think you were on that task force, weren't you? So I'm going to defer to you, Greg, and you can explain to everybody what that process was like, and where you sourced out the testimonies and the language. Why was the change in language so important to you?
Hi, everybody. Yeah, the men's task force was a brilliant idea. And what it did was take a bunch of guys that are involved in the post-abortion healing movement and kind of put their ideas together on how to reach more men, how to help men. So this book came up, and what we really wanted to focus on, and for me especially, somebody who has an abortion story in my past, and when I started recovery, all I found was materials written by women. I say all the time, I've been married 24 years. The one thing I've learned is I don't know how women think, and they don't know how I talk. So we sat down and we went over this material. We paid real strong attention to the verbiage, to the way things are phrased. If you walk up to a guy, for example, and you say, Bob, share with me how you feel right now, Bob's going to turn away, or he's going to laugh, or he's going to punch you in the arm or whatever. So we wanted to pay attention to that. We wanted to pay attention to how men process their emotions, which oftentimes is not by talking directly about their emotion, right? So, but I think it was super important that it was a collaborative effort, because all 6 of us have different experiences, come from different backgrounds. And I think by us going over it a few times, we were able to make it, I don't want to say more appealing, I'll say more effective for a male reader, if that makes sense. I didn't mean to drone on. I could go on about this thing forever.
And Greg, we're so grateful for you. And actually, Greg is an author himself, and he's in the slew of creating his own curriculum virtually. There it is, almost daddy. So when we have his whole program virtually, we will be promoting it, because it is for man by man. But Keys to Hope and Healing, like he shared, has been definitely filtered through the men's task force at SAA. So great question. Let's see, we're running at about 10 more minutes. So please make sure that your questions make it into the chat, or that I see your hand raised. Karin, what part of this is now available on Bright Course?
Keys to Hope and Healing is not available on Bright Course yet. We need to develop the facilitator videos and the quizzes in order to have it meet their requirements. However, it is available on our website free of charge. Everything that we've completed so far is on the website as of right now. The only things that you won't find are the quizzes and the facilitator trainings, which we're working on right now.
Good, thank you for that. Angela, this might be a good question for you. I have used this book in groups, and if all are okay with a faith discussion, I have added my personal testimony about forgiveness and about a next step study. No need to fear about being non-faith based. Angela, you started with the faith. You had a very strong conviction that God had to be on every page. And then you were a convert, so to speak, and saying, let's not do it that way. The research says otherwise.
Yeah.
What has helped to shape that for you? And how did you come to terms with that?
After my initial, no, it can't be done. I think it was the statistics. I think every woman, every man deserves to have a tool to facilitate their healing. And we realized that there's a whole group of people that we just weren't meeting. We just weren't reaching them. And so that was my inner conviction, and said, okay, Holy Spirit. And in the Keys version, I had a quote from Mother Teresa. And I thought, even that could turn someone off. She was such a holy woman, and I know I'm not. And so we just wanted to reach every woman. Every woman deserves the healing. And, as you've said, it's a stepping stone to maybe the faith version or Unraveled Roots. It's an introductory. And I've heard, and I can't remember which saint it is, says you go through their door first so that they will come through your door. And we just want to open every door to allow every woman, every man to receive some beginning of healing and know they're not alone. So that was my conviction, my conversion.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Angela. And what comes to mind is when we first launched SAA in 2020 in the midst of the pandemic, we were able to collect a lot of demographics. And our first conference was attended by over 8,000 people. And the majority of the people in attendance were 60-year-old white women. I want to say that again. The majority of the demographic that we attracted as an abortion healing organization was white women 60 years old. That is incredibly, right, look at Karin. That's incredibly shocking to me, because the Audriannas of the world, right, the many young women and men that we see were were part of this statistic, not knowing where to go for help, but also not being served in a way that met them right where they were in this place and space in their life. So many of the men and women, and I know I'm preaching the choir, have been hurt by other things. The abortion is the symptom, or their abortion experiences are the symptom of something way deeper that has clouded everything, including their spirituality, their morality, all of it. And so when Angela, you speak about entering in their door and then finding their way through our door, it's such a gift to me that you would be open to that, because otherwise there's no conversations happening. We're not serving a bulk of our population. And with the movement shifting and growing to a chemical or a medication managed abortion, we are in a more isolated state than we've ever been. And so it's really important that the mindset that you carry, Angela, and the conversion you had is something we all embody and we're sharing with the world. So thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, let's hear from the rest. Oh, this is a great question. Catholics, Angela, you might want to take this. Catholics with abortions are more often married mothers. I haven't seen that statistic to know that. We need to offer resources that, oh, sorry, that's our married mothers. We need to offer resources that meet a busy parent in their lives. Talk to me about what it might be like for a Catholic versus maybe a Protestant versus a non-believer, maybe from your own perspective. I'm not sure there was a question there, but interesting.
What I was thinking about, and I think they're great questions. I think what I was thinking about the Keys booklet is, we're asking the woman to, whatever her denomination may be, to really acknowledge where she is at. And then we're encouraging her to talk about where she is at. And I think if she can, in a non-clerical position, just begin to share openly, I think she will gain comfort and consolation. And if she feels the need to then to go and talk with a priest for the sacraments, or a Protestant may want to talk to their clergy pastor to receive a blessing. I think the Keys book opens it up, provides a base of healing to go further forward. And as we've said, it's a stepping stone. And I think someone may come back to you and say, well, I've done the Keys, but I'd like something more God-based. Then you can give the other booklet.
It's great. So it's a stepping stone. It's not an end all be all. It's not the almanac for healing. It's a beginning conversation for somebody who is not ready for some of the more deeper programs that we have. Okay, so we're going to pivot to our final part of our call today, and that is with our Chief Operating Officer, Kylie Heap. She's going to come on to share kind of what's happening at SAA, what's next, and what you can be looking forward to. Kylie? And Kylie, you may need to unmute yourself too.
I am unmuted and ready. So I just had to transition really quickly because I've been in the chat talking to a lot of you, and your questions are just so excellent and thought-provoking. We wanted to share with you just some announcements of things that on the horizon with support after abortion. The most common email we get from you after a webinar like this is, how can I watch it again? And so we just want you to know that we've live streamed this on Facebook. And if you are just itching to end this webinar and start it all over again, go on to our Facebook channel and you can see the entire recording live and ready to watch there. Sometimes there's just one sticking point that you're thinking about and you lose the rest. So this is a great option for you. If you've missed an abortion healing provider webinar, on that training platform that we have dropped into the chat, you can watch previous issues. And some of you have had some wonderful questions about whether or not God is necessary for healing. We had an entire webinar on that topic and talked about, yes, God is necessary for healing, but we must begin where the person is at and meet them in that space where they're ready to begin their abortion healing journey. So you can look at that webinar. It'd be a great answer very rich conversation that will take you through some of the thought process from both a priest and a pastor on that topic. Our August abortion healing provider meeting, we flip-flop between Wednesdays and Thursdays. This is based on a poll that we did with you, our audience, where some of you, approximately half, wanted to meet on Wednesdays at lunch, and the other half, especially those who don't live in the United States, really needed the Thursday evening option. Our speaker panel next meeting includes Karin Ellison, who is president of Deeper Still, Perry Underwood of SRT Services, Sheila Harper of Save One, Terry Baxter of H3 Helpline, and Angelica, I'm not sure how to pronounce this correctly, but Quizada is what I'll guess, of Life Perspectives. And we're going to be hosting this panel to talk further about how to make a referral. So if you encounter someone who you yourself cannot serve in their abortion healing needs, how do you plug them into other providers of abortion healing and get them connected with a warm introduction to those providers? So we'll have this great discussion, and within that, our co-host Lisa Rowe will also talk on the topic of making clinical referrals. Sometimes you encounter people who would be best served first in a clinical setting, and how do you make that warm introduction? We have some conferences that we're scheduled to attend as speakers, and we'd really like to see you there. In October or November, I don't think we're going to let Lisa out of an airport. She will be going to the National Association of Christian Social Workers at the end of October in Illinois. Karin is going to be joining us at the National Sidewalk Advocacy Conference in Texas at the end of October. We're going to the JUST Conference, which is the Juvenile Sex Trafficking Conference in November in Texas, the AFL Conference in Missouri, and then we're going to New York at the coldest time of year to the Pregnancy Care Conference. That will be on the 17th through the 19th. If you'd like more information about those conferences, or if they just tickle your fancy, just email us and we can give you all the details about what we're doing and when we're speaking. We have a new clinical provider webinar series. This is the perfect place for those of you who are students or practitioners in the field of social work, psychology, psychiatry, and other mental health professions to come and talk about how to serve in a clinical way clients who are healing from their wounds of abortion. What you're going to hear in this kind of conversation is that these clients aren't presenting with an abortion wound. They're presenting with issues of suicidal ideation or perchance difficulty bonding with children, things that have brought them into a clinical setting where the clinician is unpacking their woundedness and coming across an abortion experience. So how do you care for that client, and what does it look like? We began this series with Lisa Rowe talking about being a social worker and why she regretted not asking her clients about their abortion experiences. This was mind-blowing. People were so on fire for why this needs to be a more common question within the clinical setting. In July, just yesterday, we had unveiled a white paper on the legal implications to not screening for abortions in your intake, and had a great conversation in particular about that screening being more than just asking a question, but asking it correctly, asking it in a way that will receive an accurate response, where you don't create any space for shame or where the person is not apt to hide an abortion experience. In August, we're going to get into a role-playing situation. So Lisa Rowe and co-host Greg Hassick, both clinicians, they're going to pretend they're clients and demonstrate in a role-playing type situation how that conversation happens in the clinical setting between a client and a clinician. And then in September, we're going to talk about how abortion loss is different from other reproductive losses. So please, if you are a clinician, you have somebody on your staff who's a clinician, or you know someone in your community that you're making referrals to for abortion healing, please engage them in this conversation. We have talked at length about our training platform. This is a free tool for you. Please make use of it. It is training.supportafterabortion.com. You can send your clients here. completely free, completely anonymous, or you yourself as a provider can go in and become a certified leader in particular topics of interest. We have a workshop opportunity in September 15th. It's a full day in St. Louis, Missouri. We're going to have a live streaming option based on your request. And this workshop is going to help you to diversify your abortion healing program. So we've been talking across all these months with you about options-based healing and how we've got to meet clients where they're at. We're going to tell you how. So this time period would be the perfect place for you as a planner to bring your team, sit at a round table, and work through a day-long workshop with Lisa Rowe and Karin Barbito, where you will have a workbook and you will probably walk out of there with your entire 2023 plan nailed down. I invite you to participate in this workshop and join us soon. And then please add partners at supportafterabortion.com to your distribution list. We want to get to know you and hear from you and let us know what it is that you're doing. That's all I have to share. Thank you.
Awesome, Kylie. So while you were sharing, there's a lot of folks just asking how they are going to be able to register for the things that you shared. Can you share when our email follow-up comes out? People ask if they're not on Facebook, how do they get the webinar recorded and that sort of thing?
Certainly. So we send out our postscript about a week after this meeting with regard to visiting and seeing anything that was recorded here. We're going to post it on our training platform. We have a space in place that's dedicated to all the abortion healing provider webinars, so you can watch them all the way from March, I believe. We have all the recordings there, and we'll send you in an email the invitation to join and register for upcoming conferences of all varieties.
Thank you. Awesome. So if you're not already, receiving our emails, please sign up to receive them. Make sure that you check your junk mail. Sometimes they land there. And then the final thing I would like to say before we end is that if you or someone you know is struggling with an abortion experience, we are here to support you, and we'd like to do it in a private, confidential way. And so if you're interested in reaching out to us through phone or text or on our contact us or email, we've provided that information in the chat, and we'd be happy to connect with you at no cost. Somebody who has training and experience will meet you with compassion and love and anonymity and walk you through this journey. We don't want you to do it alone. So we will see you next month. Angela, EJ, Audrianna, thank you so much for your commitment today. We are so grateful. It is a team effort, and your excellence is much appreciated, and we are so grateful. So thank you for being here, and thank you for your hard work. And thank you for moving our movement to a new level. And we just are indebted to you. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.